Okie dokie, welcome to the first of my book reviews. Now, the book I've most recently finished reading is this one here, A World Out of Time by Larry Niven. Now, I found this quite an interesting book, and I'm actually becoming a fan of Larry Niven in general because of the science fiction that he writes is called hard science fiction, which actually means that it's not entirely made up fantastic stuff. It's stuff that's, has a basis in real physics, in real life technology, and you can actually see it happen, given enough time. Okay, this particular book, I'll give you a brief synopsis. Somebody from our world, say in the 70s, had themselves cryogenically frozen, as you do, and then a couple hundred years in the future, as you do, he gets woken up. Now, the world he wakes up to is just using these frozen people as a slave labour force, basically. They're not individuals as such, have no rights, so hey, why not? Now, what they do once they wake him up is they train him up as a pilot for one of their Cedar Ram ships, which is basically a ship they send out into the galaxy to throw algae onto worlds to start them slowly developing into a place where in thousands of years they could support human life. It's a really, really slow process in a forward-thinking society that wants to colonize the galaxy so slowly using slave labor. Anyway, the guy gets his ship training, and then as he's sent out into the galaxy, he steals the ship, basically. He says, look, screw you guys. I'm not going to be your slave. I'm going to do what I want, and for the heck of it, I've got this ship. I'm going to go to the middle of the galaxy and see what it's like in there, just because I can. And so he takes the ship, puts himself in suspended animation, and spends... Let's see, this is the really difficult thing to comprehend, because it's based in real-world physics and how time passes more slowly the closer you are to the speed of light. He spends 200 years of ship time traveling to the center of the galaxy and then back to Earth, which actually turns out to be 300 million years for the people on Earth. And while he spent 200 years in the ship, technically, most of that he spent cryogenically frozen, so by the time he gets back to Earth in 300 million years, he's only 80 years old. Yeah, try and wrap your mind around that one. And that's the end of the first chapter. Okay, he comes back to the solar system and finds Earth's gone. It's no longer there. Does a little bit of research and finds Uranus is gone too. And so Mercury's been heavily damaged and the sun's turned into a red dwarf. And, as he goes through the solar system, he eventually finds Earth in orbit of Jupiter, which is very strange. So at the start of the second chapter, it lands on Earth and starts trying to piece together exactly what's happened to the human race in 300 million years. Naturally they've evolved, naturally they've changed, and I won't ruin all the surprises for you, but suffice to say they're quite different. As a book, well, I find it engaging. The idea of using Uranus as a way to move planets about the solar system I find mind-boggling, and so plausible too, once you get your mind around it. Using the gas giant's own atmosphere as fuel for a giant fusion thruster to move the planet, and then using that planet's gravity to move other planets within the solar system. It's big and it's complicated, but you believe with enough time and effort and money, you could actually do it. One thing I didn't like about the book was that the protagonist or the hero could be exactly the same one that's in his Ringworld series. In fact, it's very similar to his Ringworld series in the fact that most of the book is wandering around going, what happened? How do we explain how this thing is? I couldn't tell the difference between them, and that's not a good thing given they're supposed to be completely different people in completely different universes. All over, it's a good book. Good ideas. Probably wouldn't recommend it to anyone that's not a sci-fi fan, though. And I'll have to end on that because that's 5 minutes. Cheers.